Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. This is a little bit different voice in the host chair this week. We have a couple hosts out of the country this week. So instead of Boston Razzle, Dazzle, Brazzle, you're going to be getting Commander-in-Chief retiring shortly, Brian Weigel here in the host chair for a couple more shows before we wrap up the season. Hopefully we'll be here through December, but you never know. It could, the next couple weeks could be just as dark as it is when my alarm goes off. Now it's the fall weather here in Cincinnati, but we'll see what happens. But again, thank you for joining us for episode 391 of the Cincinnati Soccer Talk main show. I'm joined by a great cast of characters this weekend. We have a great guest coming on here shortly as well, but let's welcome in the fellas. To my right on the screen, we're going to be welcoming Bill Taylor this evening. How you doing, Bill?
Hey, doing great. Looking forward to the next couple of weeks here. It should be a very exciting one for everyone.
You're talking about next couple weeks? You're talking about the next month, Bill. Come on. Don't
sorry,
start Debbie Downer.
I'm a short-term guy. Next game. I'm a next game guy. Just one more game. The next game.
There you go. Well, the season's not over yet. Just like our buddy down in Kentucky's favorite club, Lexington SC. Justin Blair, how you doing, my man?
Doing well, man. I show we were getting some slander going on for Lexington SC. Can't wait till we talk about that.
It's all abuse and it's all love. But I told Justin I'm setting him up for a key hit a little bit later on the show, and it will involve his beloved Lexington SC. But I'm glad to have you on the show. I mean, you've been writing a lot. You got a lot going on here, and get you back in the box shortly here to write about the playoffs soon.
Fingers crossed.
There we go. And now our fourth and final panelist this evening is my man out in Harrison, Indiana, Jason Ashcraft. How you doing, man? Or Harrison, Ohio. You're not
Harrison, Ohio.
Yeah.
No, you cross the border into Indiana, it immediately gets boring. I don't know what it is. Even though it's like, I think I could probably hit a golf ball and hit Indiana from my house.
I've done some pretty fun things on some tractors super late at night in Indiana. So let's be careful with that. Not having too much fun out there.
I did those kind of things growing up in rural Ohio. So
don't disrespect Boogie Nights at Hollywood Casino. Come on, guys.
Dude, if you only knew how much my brother-in-law loved that place.
I've been to that, and it was actually a great time.
You get a lot of free drinks.
Moms, yeah.
Oh yeah,
dude. I'll tell you what. My mother-in-law watches this show, and she's gonna hear me crack on Tommy about Boogie Nights, and I just can't wait for my phone call tomorrow or Wednesday. She's great, Diana. I love you. Thank you for watching all the time, guys. Welcome into to a fun show. It's MLS Decision Day, and if you're new to the MLS stratosphere, Decision Day is essentially the final day of the season where hearts can be broken, hearts can be fixed, Champions League spots can be clinched, playoff dreams dashed, all above and beyond. But most fun, I think, all the games start pretty much the exact same time for the conferences. So it's a soccer lover's nightmare, dream, MLS 360 on Apple TV, whatever y'all like to do. But I kind of wanted to reflect a little bit on this season before we get into our guests this week. We're going to be having JP Zapata from the PHLY Union Podcast to preview Saturday's match. But guys, I kind of posed this question to you prior to the show about what has been your favorite moment of the 2024 season. That could be Champions League, that could be MLS, that could be Leagues Cup, that could be anything in between. So I want you guys to kind of lead it off here. I'm going to go with you, Bill. What was your favorite moment of this season so far?
So besides going to the game with my 12-year-old son and watching him get super excited and super involved in FCC Nation, it was definitely the Inter Miami game at home. I mean, so many goals. It just seemed so easy and so effortless. And I understand that Miami side was not at full strength, but still, I mean, I just thought we looked phenomenal. Every goal was exciting and energetic. When I look back at the season, and especially being a defensive guy, I thought that was just an incredible display. Totally unexpected. I expected 1-0, 1-1, maybe a 2-2 draw in a high-scoring game. I didn't see FCC coming out like that, though.
Yeah, that was a really great experience, and kind of went all downhill from there. But we definitely enjoyed that day. Justin Blair, what was your favorite moment of the year?
My favorite moment's got to be FC Cincinnati going up north and taking Columbus Crew at their stadium. That was incredible. That was the coming out of Kevin Kelsey in that moment, and Lucho Acosta, of course, having another fantastic game. That's got to take the cake for me. For all the pain and misery of going up there to Columbus, I think that's the cherry on top so far.
And not to forget anything about Kevin Kelsey, he was listed in the MLS Best 22 under 22 this past week. I think he was 6th and rated as the best U22 forward in the game. So congrats to him. That's a great accomplishment, I guess. And we'll see if it pays dividends in bringing him back next year. Jason Ashcraft, what was your favorite moment so far?
Oh man, y'all picked two really good ones. But I would say, only because I saw it live, was Luca's first 50-yarder. Was that against Philly, if I remember? Yeah, that was against Philly. That first 50-yard goal he had, which I would argue was probably slightly more impressive than the 70-yard one that he kicked a few weeks ago. Because if I remember correctly, he was on the run while he did that.
Yep.
And what was funny for that was I looked down at my phone, and my wife, who doesn't, I love her to death, but she doesn't pay that much attention to the games usually while we're there. She just kind of smacked me on the arm and said, "Look." And as I looked up, the ball had just come off his foot. So even she saw this epic goal coming, which was pretty awesome to get to see that live.
Yeah, he's had some special moments this year for sure, and hopefully we'll see some more on decision day and maybe into the playoffs. I think my favorite moment of the year was taking my group of players and their families down to the Leagues Cup match, and as versus NYCFC, we're down 2-0, getting our tails kicked. Things don't look great, and then all of a sudden, with 20 minutes to go, FCC turned it on, and that place, with only being 15,000 fans, went absolutely bonkers in that 4-2 comeback victory over NYCFC. So I think that was definitely one of my most favorite moments, not just because the fact it was a cool game, but we started this show 9 years ago about getting people involved, and the one thing I've always said is, hey man, I want to do something that my kids can enjoy for their future, and the whole building of FC Cincinnati. And I think taking 15 kids and their families, and so many of them being their first time seeing an FCC match and now being completely hooked was completely awesome. We're in a big soccer tournament this week, and I was like, okay, let me get on to, was it Vimeo or whatever, and see who can give some love, pump up stuff. And it was either Forrest Lasso or Kendall Waston. I'm like, I don't know if they'll know who these guys are. I would love a Forrest Lasso shout out. So if anybody's got a phone number of Nick Hagland or who else, man, give me a heads up, and let's see if we can arrange a pump up video from Nick or whoever for our tournament this weekend. Real quick before we go over to our special guest for the evening, I would like to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Apollo Home. If you have an HVAC, plumbing, or electrical needs, please reach out to Apollo. They've been serving the greater Cincinnati and southern Dayton areas for over 110 years. We'd love to help you if you ever need anything. Go over to apollohome.com. Hey guys, it's a little cold out there. Did your furnace turn on this past week? If it didn't, give Apollo Home a call, because next couple of days it's going to be chilly here in Cincinnati. All right. As I said, we have a special guest coming on to tonight's show. We'll be bringing him in here right now, if I can click all the buttons correctly. JP Zapata, how you doing, my man?
What's going on? How we feeling over there? I know the furnace, I hope the furnace is turned off for the Philadelphia. They're getting a little warm here, but it's always an honor being on Cincy Soccer Talk because the Philly Soccer Talk has been a little bit little bit stale, a little bit down right now. All right, so hopefully you guys cheer me up a little more.
You're allowed to have a down year after like making the playoffs for like 15 straight years or whatever. Crazy. I guess you guys have been doing some pretty good things.
You know how Philadelphians are, though. We're really restless. We expect it to be every single year, championship or
I'm just waiting for you guys to fire your Eagles head coach.
I came here to escape that talk. Jeez, you already brought it
up. As I mentioned, JP Zapata of the PHLY Union Soccer Show. I put all his information on the show notes. If you guys want to check him out, download the show, go visit his website, and check out all the PHLY Philly sports conversations about all their different teams in that great market. So let's kind of set the tone here real quick on Philly.
Yeah.
They're 9-14-10 on 37 points for a team that's outside looking in. They're currently, I think, was it 11th on the playoff sheet.
Yeah, need some help.
They still have a +8 goal differential, which is only one worse than FC Cincinnati, who sit in 4th place in the East, which is wild, or 3rd place in the East, which is wild. But
right.
I mean, you guys are still like winners of your last five out of your last 10. You drew one game, finished 4th place in the Leagues Cup. So you guys are still a dangerous team. You got your leading scorers, which we've known about: Daniel Gazdag, Michael Ura, Ty Baribo, names that are very familiar to FC Cincinnati land. But also, you guys are missing some guys now. Martinez is gone, Julian Carranza is gone. A lot of changes there in Philly. Of course, in the 2 matches so far this season, FCC's won 4-3 at home on a crazy Lucho winner in the 90th +10 minute. But then in the Leagues Cup, you guys bounced us out at home in TQL Stadium 4-2 after FCC battled hard back to get to 2-2. So real quick, you were talking about escaping things. Let's do a quick vibes check on Philly. So again, you're currently outside looking in. Tell us about the team. What's it looking like? How's everybody feeling going into this final match and potentially the playoffs?
It's interesting because I think it's just 2 parallels when you look at this, and I feel like it could be the same for every MLS team, right? But like, there's the perspective of the majority of the fan base, and then there's just the actual club. Like, if you look at this fan base, yeah, we're kind of tired of it, because when you have the window that we had, and we all know the MLS Cup that we all lost. I mean, that was a great team. That was one of the best MLS matches of all time, right? And so that's the window. So like in any, like, it feels like for most people with common sense, it's like, we'll capitalize on that. And what's disappointing is just feels like the front office really just hasn't capitalized on this window. So you go that 2022 season, you look at the 2 off seasons since that MLS Cup. I mean, it's left to be desired. I mean, you have your Joaquin Torreses of the world who really just couldn't find a way to fit in. Andres Pereira, his style really didn't fit in with the Union, just the system in general, although he did provide a little something in the attack. This past year, you get Marcus Anderson, who's buried in Union too, Hamir Berdicio, where people kind of just forget about. And like, this is what we're talking about. And so you go into 2024, you run it again for the 2nd straight time, and it's pretty much the same results. Like, it's good, but not great. And that's what we're kind of anticipating. Because, like, dude, like I just talked about, like, that was a really good team that was in 2022. And so it feels like it was 10 years ago, not 2 years ago now. And fan base just feels frustrated. Now, the team itself, they're frustrated too, because, look, they're trying. They're fighting. I mean, a lot of the same pieces are still there. I know you mentioned Carranza and Brujo, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But they've dealt with injuries. They've dealt with people in and out the lineup with injuries or with call-ups as well. And so they've had their lulls, whether it be the 10 matches where they went winless, and I think Cincinnati was in that mix there as well when we played you guys and you guys beat us. Andre Blake was the big departure or big absence. Dude, you guys know, I mean, he's one of the best of all time at his position. And when you miss him for a significant amount of time, I mean, you kind of saw the defense kind of imploded. We lost a lot of matches where it's like, that was the Union lost like that. I mean, like the Inter Miami loss, like you're up 1-0 for most of it. They don't have Messi. They don't have Busquets. They don't have Alba. And you allow 2 goals in the last like 10, 15 minutes. Like, that's just uncharacteristic for Union soccer. So it's just frustration all around. And if you ask me personally, like, I kind of hope they don't make the playoffs, because like what I feel like what making the playoffs will happen is that it'll just kind of put like a little Band-Aid of what this Union team is. And what this Union team needs is it kind of take a deep dive into themselves. Like MLS is vastly changing. I mean, you guys are kind of a blueprint right now, right? So like, yeah, the Moneyball type of style worked for the past couple seasons, but you need to spend a little bit more. You need difference makers, and unfortunately, difference makers do cost money, and more money is being put into this league. So just frustration overall, guys. That's all.
Well, you mentioned, we mentioned earlier you finished pretty well in Leagues Cup, and then you mentioned your kind of sentiment on the playoffs. But it is kind of interesting because this is decision day, and it could very well be a decision day for the Union. I think if they win and get some help, you do kind of sneak into there to the wild card. Do you think your sentiment is shared by a lot of the fans, or do you think that, what the hell, let's just try to win the playoffs and get in and see what happens?
I mean, like, so it's funny because a couple weeks ago, right before summer ended, the Union front office actually held a town hall meeting for the fan base. And it really was just has some closure because there was a lot of protests going on. I mean, obviously there was sell the team type of stuff going on. So the ownership decided, and I've always commended the Union. They've always been proactive on these type of things. They understand that the fan base is important, right? Like bills won't get paid if we don't have fans. And so they've always been very proactive about that type of stuff. So we had a town hall meeting. The fan base were able to ask anything, and I mean anything they wanted to the front office. And a lot of the topic was the amount that is being spent on the first team. And a lot of questions. There was probably like 5 or 6 out of the 20 to 25 questions like that had something to do with just money being spent on the team. And so I do feel like a lot of the fan base does feel like that. Obviously there's a portion that's, it's always going to be hoorah, whatever the Union say or do, I'm down. Youth Academy, let's effing go, right? And then there's the fan base that will push back and will question what the Union do. I'm always been like that. Like I understand that this is a business, and they're going to make their decisions. And I do see how good teams like FC Cincinnati and how they have built. And it's funny because you guys are the perfect example, because the blueprints of what you guys have came from Chester, Pennsylvania. So yes, build from within. 110% agree with it. But getting yourself a Luciano Costa, yes, developing a Brandon Vasquez was humongous. But the amount that you guys have spent on the back line, like investment into the first team, is big. And I think for the most part, from what I've seen and from what I've heard, that's what a lot of Union fans want. Some more investment into the first team, because we know money's coming in.
Yeah, that's the thing that I think would be most frustrating as a Philadelphia fan is you're seeing all those departures overseas, and they're making some big money off of the Aaronsons. Julian Carranza, I'm sure, is making a pretty penny. So where is that getting reinvested? You can't just say you're paying the bills for that. You need to be seeing some of that. Then I thought it was really interesting to have the the promotional thing about your new star boy on the team. So maybe
don't get me started on that one.
So it's kind of setting up for the same kind of frustration, right? Like you have another hope, a shining light. Like Sullivan's there still yet. So that's one of those players that have kind of stuck around for a few years, but it's got to be infuriating for Union fans to just rinse and repeat.
Well, I mean, Caven's another great example too. It's another one of those like, kind of a blinder of what the real issues are. And like, yeah, it's cool. Like a 14-year-old kid and listen, he's that good. Like he is going to be a star right before he leaves for Man City before 18, right? But like the amount of that story has being pushed is honestly ridiculous. And I get it. You kind of have to do it, but it just goes towards, kind of the bigger issue at hand right now. And it's just like, just throwing Band-Aids. Just trying to, throw some fluff stories out there to make this fan base happy. And it does get frustrating.
Now, Philly fans across any type of sport are known to be hypercritical of all times. I mean, when you look at the Union this year, I mean, it's not like you're at the bottom of the sheet. You guys have a shot to make it. I mean, you're still in contention going into the last match. What is Philly's, it's not unlike Cincinnati in the fact that, there is a working class element to the city. people are cautious of where they spend their money, season ticket holders. You have a lot of signings going into 25 through 28. You're retaining so many of those players on the roster. Do you take any positives out of that? You focused a lot on the negatives. I mean, I do see some positives in the Union, and they're not all negatives. What's your thought on that?
No, I mean, like, look, obviously, like, there's been a sustained success with this team, and I completely get that. Like, I would never look past what the accolades that we've been able to accomplish over the past couple of years, and that's great. But I think sports is so fascinating in the fact that there's a lot of complexities through season, and I look deeply into all the 5 main sports here in America, and I think that's what fascinates me the most. And even if the MLS is so young, and may not be as popular as some of the other leagues, there is still a lot of parity season to season. And so, like, just for me personally, like, what are you doing to try to stay up top with the best? Because that's how winning is done. You have to find a way to stay with the best. Yes, there are some crux of this team that is really good, and that's been my whole point. The way the Union have built this team over the past couple of years is perfect for trying to be competitive. However, when you've tasted the top, right? Like 2022, we tasted it. The trophy was in our hands if it wasn't for a man named Gareth Bale. Once you've tasted it, dude, you want that. You want the entire meal. You don't want just the taste. You want the entire meal. And so what are we doing to get that entire meal? And that's just my mentality with it. Like, how are we changing? How are we making it more complex? My issue from year to year to year since 22 is that there has been no change. Like, after 2022, the big reason why you were so successful, yes, that starting 11 was great. But, dude, you go into the bench. You had yourself a Corey Burke who changed the pace of the game. You had yourself a Paxton Harrison who was a great change up from Daniel Gaza because he was more of a facilitator. Since then, there's like really nothing on our benches. Quinn Sullivan's been great. Now, Quinn this season in particular has solidified himself as that starting right shuttle midfielder. Now that Ali is kind of getting up there in age, right? Like, he's a year older and he's a step slower as well. So that's great. But like, we haven't had that depth since that 2022 season. And so that's something that the Union need to continue on as well. Dude, we all know, you guys know very well, this schedule is going to be congested, especially summertime. And the Union have failed, and I mean failed, at trying to combat that. The Union literally told us their plan this year for the congested schedule was to hope that players stayed healthy. What kind of plan is that, guys? That's not a plan. Come on.
Fingers. Now, is that Ernst Tanner, or is that where do Philadelphia fans point their frustration? Is it Ernst Tanner, or is it the ownership group?
Well, I think that the fans point the fingers at the front office, and probably rightfully so. Here's the thing: when you talk to the front office about any of these type of things, it always they give you the same like corporate jargon. It's their core values, in the core values of building from within, hard work, and just all the stuff that you guys kind of know, right? And so it's always gonna come to that. Why don't we invest more? Well, because it doesn't go towards our core values. It's always going to go back to those core values. That's always going to be their answer to it. And so the fans may point the fingers at the front office, and more so the ownership, not necessarily Ernst Tanner, but it just feels like it is very collaborative. Ernst does come from a background where, whether it be Hoffenheim or even with the RB system, it was all about finding diamonds in the rough. Wasn't a lot of, big money spending, right? It was a lot of developing youth academy and stuff like that. That's what he's brought over here to Philadelphia. And again, that's great. But you want to get over the hump, especially from what you're seeing right now, you need to spend a little bit more, just a little bit.
So let's talk a little bit about what you have on the field right now. Of course, you are replacing two huge pieces in Julian Carranza and Jose Martinez. One of the replacements, I guess you could say, for Carranza is somebody you already had on the roster in Ty Burrito, who has done incredible things in his short time as a starter. I think almost 10 goals, something like that. But then you also had for the Union, we'll say, is a big money addition in Danley Jean-Jacques.
Yeah, there you go, man.
And like 1.1.5 roughly $1 million signing in the defensive midfield. So how are those two guys been impacting, and have there been any surprises on the bench or coming off the bench that we might see this weekend?
Well, yeah, I mean, Ty, obviously you guys know well. I mean, he really had us coming out against you guys in Leagues Cup. And ever since then, he kind of rode that wave, and he's been a big surprise. I thoroughly thought he's been a nice surprise, and it's been another one of those things where it's like, why didn't he play earlier on? And Jim has this thing where, listen, if you want minutes every match, you got to show what you have in training. That's always been his mantra. Now, I get that. I completely get that. But sometimes, and I speak this, from experience, sometimes there's players who just, when the lights of a match go bright, they show out. They turn up. Some guys in practice, it just doesn't happen, right? And so Ty Baribo was just one of those guys. In training, he just didn't show a lot. Now, obviously, I don't want to steer anywhere near politics. He is from Israel. I'm sure there was stuff going on with his family, and that definitely could have been affecting him. He was dealing with injuries. He was getting called up. So you mix all those things together, and yeah, probably wasn't the smoothest start to an MLS career. Obviously, playing United States. Also, something he's got to adjust to as well. But he's finally found a way. Now, I will say this, guys. Love what he's done so far this year. He's been one of the stories of this year. I personally don't know how good he actually is and whether or not he is, let's just say, the permanent starter going forward, like a Julian Carranza. I think he's good. I just don't know how good he is. I think I need to see a little bit more to see exactly how good he is. But they're really one of the big bright spots of this team so far. Danley is another one I just need to see more of. You definitely see the crux of it. I mean, the dude moves very well with the ball at his feet. He's got great vision. Obviously, you can see the size there. He's very tenacious. I mean, one thing I do like is that I've always said, I love the signings from, the big 5 leagues. It doesn't have to be, from Manchester United, right? Like even a club like FC Metz, who, granted, they did get relegated from Ligue 1 and go to Ligue 2. But he's played with some high-quality opponents, right? And so I do like that pedigree coming over here. But again, I definitely just need to see some more from him. But you could definitely see the crux of what he can possibly be for us.
So I always use you already talked about the similarities in design of FCC and the Union, the similar concept. I've always used, and I've spoke about it earlier in the season on the podcast, I've always used the Union as kind of a measuring stick, that those matches are a measuring stick. When I go watch the Union play FCC or watch them on TV, I feel a sense of rivalry kind of beginning. Obviously, we're not going to have anything near as big as, obviously our interstate rival in Columbus. But what's the feel in Philadelphia when you play a team of a similar background, similar concepts, similar consort? I mean, we are kind of in the same place right now. FCC is not in peak form. The Union aren't in peak form. I mean, is there a sense of a rivalry kind of beginning between the Union and FCC?
I definitely would think so. I mean, if it wasn't for, taking Albright and Noonan, I mean, definitely after last year's playoff game, that definitely started some fireworks, that's for sure. But I mean, for me personally, I definitely get it. I mean, Cincinnati and Philadelphia have been, to the cream of the crop for the last 2 to 3 years, right? And so there's definitely a level of respect right there for Cincinnati and just the kind of way you guys play. And I mentioned it earlier. I just wish that I love the ambition of Cincinnati. I really do, because you guys kind of understood what Philadelphia was doing, and you guys also understood that, look, if we really want to contend for a title, we do have to dish some money in there as well. So I definitely do love that, and I think that right now it's kind of like that. I always compare it to Colombia and Argentina. I'm a big Colombian national team guy, and so when I think about Argentina, I don't necessarily hate them. But it's definitely competitive nature. Once the 90 minutes are playing, definitely we're heated. But before and after, there's nothing but respect for Argentina. And so I feel the same way about Cincinnati. During the 90 minutes, yeah, we're heated. We're rivals. But I do have the utmost respect for Cincinnati. And and listen, and you mentioned it earlier, if brash Philadelphia fans are, they'll probably, yell a couple, screw you, Luciano Costas, right? on Saturday, but it's definitely some respect on my end.
In kind.
It's the Philly way. That's the Philly love, man.
Well, JP, as we wrap things up and we get ready for this weekend's contest, what is your prediction? Give us a score prediction, maybe a goal score. What do you think is going to happen?
Oh, that's going to be tough, huh? I really don't know what to anticipate. And you know what else, too, to keep in mind? This is a long layover. Like, we've had, 11 days since our last match and playing you guys. And so that's definitely going to be interesting. How have the Union prepared for this? Obviously, we have some guys that will be playing in international play. But how do you actually prepare for this with such a long layover? I'm going to say that we draw. I'm going to say 1-1 draw. I don't know if we get the help from DC or from Montreal. I forget who they're playing, but respectively. But you got to take care of it. I said this. If they want to make the playoffs, they generally want to make the playoffs. Don't look at the score. Go out there against Cincinnati and play your game and take care of business. You'll be at home. You'll have the home crowd behind you. So take care of your business. And if the rest happens to work in your favor, then it does. But I honestly, like I told you earlier, I really don't care for making the playoffs because it just, again, we make the playoffs and then what? We lose in the second round. I just know what the result is. And I don't want that, guys. I just watched the Phillies lose to the stinking Mets. Okay. I don't need any more heartbreaks over here.
It's like, I guess it's kind of weird to phrase it this way. Is okay.
At least you got a baseball team going to the playoffs.
Right.
Hey, can we have Nick Castellanos back, please?
Yeah. Hey, listen, the Reds next year. I heard you guys are going to Terry Francona. Listen, you guys are going to be all right. All right.
Oh shoot! No, it's kind of weird because this game, if you win it, you get some help. You advance. You get to a midweek playing game, and then you go right into traveling down to Miami and get to play Messi. I guess the only thing to look forward to as a fan is getting to pay $400, $500 for a $20 ticket for that first round match. Hopefully you opted in for your season tickets there, but just kind of I'd be interested to see if they kind of give the general fan a shaft if you guys did make that series versus Miami.
Oh man, it's insane.
It's a new DP that way though, right?
Yeah, exactly. The first Inter Miami match that they were here in Chester. Oh, it was absolutely insane. I had thousands of text messages. Yo, can I get tickets to the games? Guys, you see what's going on right now? They're selling tickets at Subaru Park for $200. You think I can get you a ticket? Come on.
I think the Suns have been saved up quite a bit of money in the Leagues Cup, so it should be fine.
Should be, hopefully.
Awesome. Well, JP, thank you so much. Can you give a real quick shout out to all your socials and where they can find all your content, please?
Absolutely. No, thank you guys. It's always an honor being on Cincy Soccer Talk. Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter at Barcelo Philly. I'm constantly working over at PHLY Sports, where all things Philadelphia sports with some of the best beat writers and journalists, broadcasters, you name it, over at PHLY Sports. But yeah, our union shows, PHLY Union, we actually go live on Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Every Tuesday, 1 o'clock, we do go live. But I appreciate, again, Cincy Soccer Talk. If you ever need your union talk, you know where to find me now.
Yeah, Coach Bragoff's going to be on that show this week, so we have to tune in, guys. Again, all his information's in the show notes on Facebook, YouTube. All you guys need to do is click, download, go check out JP stuff. JP, thank you so much, man. We'll talk to you soon. All right.
Thanks, guys. Dupont.
Thanks, JP. Good luck.
Thank you. All right, that was JP Zapata, PHLY Union show. Go check out all his stuff. You click on the right stuff again. This is tough, man. I'm always doing this stuff for Boston. I'm doing it solo tonight. I got to train one of you guys to help me produce this stuff out here. Real quick, let's give a shout out to another one of our sponsors real quick. Beyond Exercise. Beyond Exercise is a local physical therapy and fitness business that helps people stay active and injury-free. In fact, they help some of our local MLS, MLS Next, and FCC Academy players with their health and performance needs. Check out their suite of services at gobeyondexercise.com. Also, please make sure if you want to get in touch, you can tweet at Cincy Soccer Talk or email us at feedback@cincinnati-soccertalk.com. again, feedback@cincinnati-soccertalk.com. Go check out, support us. You can go subscribe to our Patreon at cincinnati-soccertalk.com/support. And please, we're going to be shaking things up here at CST over the next couple months. We got some new leadership positions coming out. I'm sure you'll hear everything shake out a little bit more soon, but please make sure to check out all of our written content at cincinnati-soccertalk.com. I know there's been a bunch of talk about what we're going to be doing during the off season as well. I know, I think Justin was going to be talking to some of the people down at King's Hammer, talking about some of their USL and USL women's teams coming up here. So go check out cincinnati-soccertalk.com. All right, guys. That was a great preview. I'm going to get all three of your guys' thoughts. We asked JP for his predictions. So I'm going to start with you, Bill, then Justin, then Jason. What's your predictions for the weekend?
Wow, they're putting me on the spot. I've thought about, like I said, I use the Philadelphia Union as a measuring stick. If we can go into Philly, show decent form, come away, you spoke about it last week. We really want to win this game, right? We want to build some momentum going into the playoffs. If we lose to the Union, I don't know that we advance past the first round, regardless of opponent. The opponents that are even on our schedule on decision day, any one of those opponents could be very deadly to FC, depending on where we're at in the draw, even with the home 2 matches. I got to think, I'm going to say, and I'm a homer, right? I get it. I got to say 2-1 in favor of FC. I think we come out ahead, even though we've had poor form. I kind of like what I'm seeing from us. Where the Union are, I think there's just too much pressure for them, and I don't see the Philly fans. If we can score first and not give up a goal in the first 10 minutes, I think we can silence that crowd out there in Philly.
We'll see what happens there. I'm not used to, we'll see with FC Cincinnati playing Philly. We haven't really had a full strength lineup versus them. So I'm interested to see if we can, roll out Teenage. Looks like Sergio Santos, I think, should be back. We'll see what happens with Cheeto Waziem, but a lot of info coming out here. Justin, what do you think is going to happen this weekend?
I think JP hit it on the head. I think it's 1-1. I think this is one of those games, as Bill alluded to, where FC Cincinnati wants to get right going into the playoffs, but they don't really need it because it's not going to change their position going into the playoffs. But Philadelphia is, obviously going to be desperately looking to try to claw their way into the playoffs. So I think that kind of ends in a stalemate. I think FC Cincinnati is the better side. I think they're able to coast to a comfortable point on the road.
Jason, if you want to predict, that's good. But what little thing do you want to see going into the playoffs out of this game?
I want to see us learn how to pass in the midfield. That's what I want going into.
You mean not
playoffs.
Going always backwards?
Always backwards or pass into the wrong team.
Sure.
I want Obi specifically. Sorry, Obi, love you, but I want the team to at least. I, as a fan, want to feel like there's some confidence back in the team. The past 3 or 4 weeks, it's just, I think everybody in the fan base is kind of like down on the club a little bit. And I would, as a fan, like to see a team go out there and play it with some confidence that makes me feel a little better going into the playoffs. Because right now I'm kind of like JP. I'm kind of like, if we get in there, how are we going to do? And I don't like that feeling. I didn't have that feeling last year.
It's going to be challenging as well because, we, regardless of our first round matchup, we know most likely that it'll be Columbus sitting there in that final winner take all match in the Eastern Conference semifinal. So whatever we can build with physicality wise or not, again, it's going to be a different Philly team than we saw in the Leagues Cup versus what we saw earlier in the year too. So no Martinez, a lot of moving pieces around there. I think if we have the ability to battle these guys over 90 minutes, I think we have a little bit more tools in our chest to pull against this Philly team. And I want to see the front three Lucho and whoever else is up there, score some damn goals. Not miraculous goals. Let's work the ball around. I've been working with and training all week with or past through with my boys, cross where are we running? It's the little things like, okay, this forward reacts so differently from Kevin Kelsey, and he looks so different from Gioacchini. Let's just freaking figure it out and put whoever doesn't work on the bench. I mean, it's put up or shut up time. So that's what I want to see. Real quick, guys, as the season's kind of winding down, I do appreciate everybody who's donated to our Patreon this year. We do our Growler Cup predictions contest, and all these people allow us to keep the lights on, allow us to pay our bills to our tremendous photo team. So thank you guys very much. I want to give a shout out to Red Lee, John Davidson, a Dinosaur Rar, Laurel Failer, Matt Adamchick, Riley Stephen Burke, James Denbo, Tom Niehaus, Brian Giles, Dan Albers, Will Kajcek, Ian Rex Road, Kyle Fight, Christina Schwarma, Kyle Pohl, Rupesh, Tom Beaversdorf, Super Average Jason, John Haskell, Ryan Ernest, West Anastasi, Rob Pierce, Clifford Adams, Thomas Spieth, Pierce Johnston, Mike Prentice, David Wiederhold, Rob Griselli, Brad Weigel, Paul Hetker, Alex Carnigas, Dave Tangler, Patrick Lonnie, Mike Bowman, Brett Silva, Kevin Cooney, Joe Max, Jack Emery, David Moore, Bob Ryan, Ryan Durkin, Barlabita, Rob Triple, Joe Lowry, Bill Leopold, Marin H. De Marais, Joseph Guerra, John Cafardi, Olympico, Joseph of Hangar 937, Jackson Fight, Justin Blair, Kyle Phillips, Ashley Niehaus, Dan Burns, Coach Clip, Justin Gregory, Scott Dalton, Jason Ashcraft, Jeff Tibbetts, Troll, Matt Bauer, Pete Koch, Mark Gotze, and Todd Sheerenbeck. That was a mouthful. Thank you all donating so much.
Yeah, thank you for doing that. I mean, like if you ever need to fill out 15 minutes of a show, just have me read that. I probably could pronounce troll accurately.
Yeah, I had to warm up that tongue there to get all those vowels and consonants and everything out. So, whew, got my breath now. All right, guys, we're going into decision day. Let's set the stage. If the season ended today, Miami in first versus the wild card winner. Columbus in second versus New York Red Bulls, who are the 7th overall team with 47 points. Cincinnati 56 versus Charlotte at 6th place with 48. Orlando 4th at 52 with New York City FC 5th and 50 points. The 8th and 9th place teams are DC and Montreal at 40 points each. And then you have Philly at 37 with Toronto also at 37, but somehow eliminated and all that fun stuff. Atlanta's also at 37 with a -4 goal differential. So real quick, guys, some interesting games at the NYCFC versus Montreal, DC versus Charlotte, and Atlanta versus Orlando that can kind of factor in some things. Of course, the wild card games Tuesday or Wednesday with the quote unquote first round, second round beginning at least next Friday. So of all those teams you saw, likely teams that we might play in the first round are Charlotte, New York Red Bulls, or New York City FC. Another team that's unlikely but possible would be Orlando City. Jason, Bill, then Justin, what team do you absolutely not want to see in that first round? Jason, over to you.
This has nothing to do with how the team plays or tactics or strategy. I just don't want to play the New York Red Bulls. If they win and Charlotte loses, then we would play them, right? We have a history with the Red Bulls in the playoffs.
Never.
Whether it's U.S. Open Cup back in the day, the Baby Bulls back in the day, and then of course pizza situation last year. Always something happens when we play the Red Bulls. So I don't want them at all. Just they can go play Columbus or somebody. That's fine.
The tifo of a pizza box would be something else.
Oh, that would be hilarious.
That would be awesome.
But I think they've already made their playoff tifo, unfortunately. So,
well, Frankie's gone there now, right? So we don't have to worry about him anymore.
Yeah,
that guy. I could, I definitely wouldn't. I do not want to see them, just to have a little bit something different there, for sure. I'm gonna go with Bill. What team do you not want to see?
So I'm going to go with NYCFC. I've kind of stated it before. Since Leagues Cup, Martinez is absolutely on fire. I don't think we have a team capable of outscoring another team. I don't see us scoring 3 or 4 goals in the playoffs. Thus my prediction of a 2-1 victory against the Union this coming weekend. The form of NYCFC, just since Leagues Cup, they've been able to score a lot of goals. Now on the other side, they've conceded several in one match, but for the most part, they concede maybe 1 goal a game on average since League Cup, save the 1 game. But I don't want to see NYCFC, not right now. I want them to be 2 or 3 games in, and then maybe we get to see them in the next round. So I'll gladly take that in a single elimination match and give us at least a chance.
All right, Jason.
You mean Justin?
Justin, whatever I said.
I'd like to be different, but I'm gonna have to agree with Bill. I just think NYCFC is a team that I just would not want to play. I mean, they're one of those teams that had one of those soft resets a couple of years ago, and they're desperate for wins, right? They had the MLS Cup in 2021, and since then it's kind of been so they really would like to submit their stamp. Now they did in 2022 make it to the Eastern Conference final, but I think this could be one of those years where NYC gets sneaky and upsets a team in the first round. So I would avoid them at all costs.
And they are accepting ticket deposits for the new stadium already.
Yeah.
When is that?
27.
Yeah.
Beautiful facility from what it looks like. It'll be amazing.
It's not a baseball stadium.
Yeah, correct. Correct.
Well, I posed this question to you guys to see if any of y'all would take the bait, but y'all are cowards. I'm not afraid of anybody. We're going to kick everybody's butt. With that being said, I don't want to play Charlotte because I think they're uber boring and I do not like how they bunker. But other than that, we're going to kill them all. Let's go, FCC.
I just want us to keep. I want a bunch of upsets to happen. Total chaos.
Yeah.
In the playoffs. That's what I'm rooting for.
I'm going to have to disagree with Jason on his pick, though, because I totally want the New York Red Bulls. That would be a dream matchup again. I love that rivalry game. That gets everyone in the league's attention. And it's not because of, pizza parties in the locker rooms, but I mean, the fire, the Lucho headbutt on Aaron Long a few years ago. I mean, it's never ending, and it makes for a good right. So it's kind of a selfish pick, right?
I hate booing anybody, but I'm more than okay booing John Tolkien. So
yeah,
perfectly okay with that.
Go ahead.
Oh, and it's cool because they're not going to have any fans midweek in that second game.
Exactly.
Yeah, true.
Eliminating the Red Bulls 3 straight years in Red Bull Stadium would be fantastic. I mean, just utterly fantastic.
I consider the Red Bulls a high up there rival. Like if almost equal to Columbus. That is how much I dislike them. And I don't want to play a single rival in the playoffs. I want it to be the teams that we never really see. So, Lord willing, we'll play Charlotte. We'll play someone will upset Columbus, hopefully, and it'll be a team we hardly ever play, or we have no history with, and it's just win the game. After what we went through last year, I don't want any added emotion on top of an already stressful situation. So let's play, teams that are in our conference, but I don't care about.
If we were playing the Red Bulls, who on the current roster would get a red card?
Shoot. I think I'm going to go with Yedlin.
Yedlin? Think he'd fire it up?
I think he would.
It would be pretty sick if Pavel Buka, the quietest guy on planet Earth, got a red card.
I would say
that would actually be terrifying. That would be terrifying. Yeah. Anybody in our midfield gets a red card, I will be mortified because we will not advance.
I think Buka's got a little. I feel like in the last match,
Yeah,
he was getting a
Czech
little.
Mafia?
He was getting
Czech
a little
Mafia.
chippy there. Yeah,
He did that earlier in the
chippy.
year, dude. He did that like in the Leagues Cup too. He was a little chippier than normal. We need that. We need that Pavel back. All right.
Yeah.
Well, guys, it's going to be an exciting decision day. Unfortunately, I'm going to be on the road driving, coaching, then driving back. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch the game live. So that's going to make me a little heartbroken. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be up at the Beaver Creek Haunted Classic this weekend. And I've heard the horror stories for I think it's like the second largest youth soccer tournament in the country or something ridiculous. So we'll see how that goes. There are still some facets to this weekend that matter for FC Cincinnati, much, that are very much in their hands. And of course, I'm talking about CONCACAF Champions League. As it stands right now, we are on the outside. Well, I guess not technically outside looking in because they do it with the Supporter Shield standing. So if you haven't known, FC Cincinnati is sitting fifth in the Supporter Shield standings at 56 points. We're tied with Seattle and Salt Lake, who all have 56 points. But we own the tiebreaker. The tiebreaker is wins for some unknown freaking reason. CONCACAF's, in their high and mighty wisdom, changed their tie-breaking procedures from their standard goal differential to MLS tie-breaking standards, which of course goes wins, goal differential, goals for, and FC Cincinnati sit in the seat for that. So they do need to get get a result this weekend to solidify their spot in the CONCACAF Champions League. So let's touch on this real quick to not beat a dead horse that we've talked about for several weeks, but how MLS teams can qualify to the CONCACAF Champions League are the U.S. Open Cup champion, LAFC. Then you also have the 3 Leagues Cup spots. You have the Canadian champion potential spot there. And then in the regular season, you have the Supporter Shield winner. You have the opposite conference champion. So you have Supporter Shield Miami, LA Galaxy in the West. And then you have the 2 next best Supporter Shields, regardless of their conference affiliation. So as that stands, Miami Supporter Shield, they're in. LA Galaxy, they're in with that Western Conference. Columbus, they won the Leagues Cup. LAFC, they won USM Cup. So that leaves Cincinnati, Seattle, and Salt Lake. At least 2 of those 3 should make the CONCACAF Champions Cup. And then you never know if LA, Columbus, LA, Miami, or hopefully FC Cincinnati win MLS Cup. We would clinch a spot in the CONCACAF Champions Cup for 2 years in a row. So, guys, I kind of wanted to pitch this to you. Jason, I know we've always talked about different tournaments. Does this excite you that we could still have this ability to get into the Champions Cup? What's it mean for you with this season being kind of a disappointment, I guess?
Oh, that's a good question. This might be. I might get booed for this.
JP put it perfectly. He was talking about making the playoffs equals like a Band-Aid, and I was just thinking like CONCACAF Champions Cup, like we failed spending to get that big DP. Yeah. Is this kind of we can say this season was good enough for us and validate that to our ownership?
I think so. I think that's where I'm landing on it is like, if we make it, then mathematically speaking, we've had a good season. From like just a personal interest standpoint though, Leagues Cup has kind of ruined CONCACAF Champions Cup for me as a fan, because you play the Liga MX teams anyway in the Leagues Cup. But I think you're right, Brian.
Yeah, but we don't get to go down there.
Yeah, and that's something Leagues Cup should fix. But at the same time, we played Cavalier last year.
Don't disrespect my Cavalier, man.
I mean, God bless them.
Premier League.
Yeah. Dude, that was an awesome game. It was like 30 degrees. Those guys were not loving it, and
yeah,
it was a great environment. Yeah, it was fun.
But at the same time, like I agree with you that just by making it, you can say, okay, well, we were one of the top 8 MLS teams just by virtue of making it. Hopefully, I mean, we get some extra GAM if we make it, and that can help us
Yeah,
pay down some people.
Yeah, I mean, you get the, like, obviously, like, you would want, I mean, not from a club perspective, but getting one of those Central American teams would, be exciting allure, right? Having going into Herreto on the road is like famously a difficult environment to play. So I would like to see us get into Champions Cup. I think it is a mark of a club that is here to stay. Um, but obviously, Brian's favorite tournament is also in the balance. So if we don't make it, we could be in the Open Cup. So
that was what I was going for, baby.
Yeah.
We ain't going to the U.S. Open Cup. We're gonna opt out. We'll send our MLS 2 team, who could probably beat like the Lexingtons of the world, the Carolina Cores of the world, pretty easily.
You're not beating those boys.
I think fairly easily. I mean, they are like the second best team in MLS next. And let's, I would rather have our guys focusing on Cavalier over the, semi-pros down in Detroit and wherever else they play. Not to demean those guys. I'm joking.
Yo, me and 2,000 people at the Lexington SC game are going to absolutely run house in the U.S. Open Cup next year. So
that's super impressive. They can get 2,000 free tickets out to the public like that.
You got to drive to Boonesboro to go to those games. So.
Get out of town.
I literally said this today. I said I was driving south of the town from Richmond, Kentucky north, and I'm just outside of Richmond, Kentucky. I'm like, what's this big old green stadium next to this old horse showing building?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is this? That's the new Lex. Why did they build the stadium 45 miles outside of town?
Because I can't explain Lexington to people who haven't been there, or like you have been there, but like you haven't lived there. I refuse to give you any Lexington
facts.
Is a city where the suburbs constantly move. So unlike Cincinnati in northern Kentucky, where they just build like $1.5 million homes next to $200,000 homes and just kind of mix everything together. There are suburbs. There's actual proper neighborhoods that get built. And so it just moves. The money just moves around the city. It started in the north end with Lexmark and IBM, and then went down south to the horse farms where I grew up. And now it's currently exactly where they built the stadium. The money's over Richmond Road and Takes Creek. So I think it makes sense from a family-friendly perspective, but I do get the issue. You're far enough away from the University of Kentucky that you lose a big draw there.
Hey man, I think they need to get some packages together, go stay at that awesome hotel Lex, Old Best Western crack hotel that used to be there. I love it. I'm so excited that they put some money in that place. Oh,
at least they didn't put it where they put the Legends Stadium. They literally put the Legends Stadium in one of the roughest areas of Cincinnati,
and behind a strip mall too.
Yeah, that was like great.
It's close to a cookout, so that is good enough for me. It is one exit up from a cookout. Oh,
hey, they'll be up in the big old USL Championship next year, so they'll be.
Yes,
they will.
They'll have the rivalry with Louisville, the I-64 Cup or whatever they're going to call it.
Oh, that's amazing. No, I'm very excited. I still want us to make the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Regardless, I think it is a good tournament. It is the tournament that lets us have that chance of getting into the FIFA Club World Cup, which is something that they're trying to build up more and more. And the closer we are to that is better than where Nashville SC and St. Louis FC are right now. So that's what I would like. All right, guys. Wow, it's 10 o'clock already. Thank you guys for tuning in this evening. I guess it's time for our final thoughts this evening. I'm actually going to start this one up, guys, and then we'll go Jason, Bill, Justin. I was going to say this on the show, and then I listened to another friend's podcast, The Post. Guys, Chief mentioned this as well. But just to confirm kind of some of the things that we've said out there, I've been bringing up this in my final thoughts for the past couple of weeks is about the NWSL, and more specifically some Redditor reports of Cleveland NWSL getting a bid We've heard this through several sources from the Cincinnati bid team that they believe that Reddit, they were caught wildly off guard. And I mean wildly off guard that was even a possibility, that timeline didn't even line up to what the league had shown to them. So please take measured stock in any of those NWSL reports for Cleveland right now. Confirming kind of what Chief said, that Cincinnati is still on the docket to be scheduled by league staff. So unless something wild changes, things are still on track for NWSL. Look at what Jeff Birding's done with his whole body of work of getting TQL Stadium done and getting the MLS bid delivered. FCC works very, very well in the shadows and gets the important things done and the meaningful, tangible benefits that those clubs need. Not, hey, we have X amount of deposits. Well, no, we actually have a season ticket holder base. Hey, we actually might build this MLS Next Pro Stadium and then maybe co-opt it for NWSL. Oh, no, we actually have TQL Stadium. We're going to build a women's training facility, all these different things. So take measured stock, still looking good for NWSL. So with that being said, Bill, go ahead.
So, you're going to change up the sequence there on us last minute. Okay. All right. So I've got to think, I'll just, stay focused on FCC. All right, now you get it. So stay focused on FCC for the rest of this season. Is it going to take a little bit of luck? Yes, it's going to take a lot of luck with this team to win the cup. And I mean, once you're in the playoffs, any one of those teams can win the cup. But I mean, some teams are obviously going to be more favored than the others. You got your LA teams, you got your New York teams, you've got Columbus. I mean, you have a lot of very powerful teams. Don't forget Miami. I mean, Orlando. You can go on and on. But sometimes luck at the right time can change a whole lot of momentum and start that steamroller through to the cup. Do we have a chance to win the cup? Absolutely. Is it likely? No, it's not likely, and I understand that. Where's our win? Where's our tilt? Is it advancing to the third round? I mean, where does it become a real victory for FC, or is it cup or nothing? So those are kind of my thoughts. This is a big building for next year time. Yes, I miss Miazga dearly in that defense. Absolutely dearly, and I hope he comes back and he can be at the same caliber that he was in the beginning of the season before his injury. Yeah, I think we can. But also, I think we're going to be luckier, and we got to put those shots on frame, because if they're not, then you got no chance.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you tuning in or being a part of the show this week. Hopefully have you a lot more on before I get out of Dodge here. We'll go back to our scheduled programming and bring it to Jason.
And my final thought lines up with what Brian's was pretty good, because it's NWSL related. So if you didn't see the Boston expansion team's new name, it is terrible. NWSL has had a long run of good names for their teams. You had like Bay FC, Kansas City Current, Utah Royals. And now we've got Boss Nation, BOS Nation, FC. It is come on. The Breakers was right there.
Boss Nation, is that like affiliate with a sponsor?
I don't know. Is it a Bruce Springsteen team?
We got to get Jeff on here. Got to get Jeff Tebbets on here and clarify what the heck is this?
Yeah. So poor decision making. The Boston Breakers was right there for the taking, and they fumbled it.
Oh my gosh. So listen to this. This is hilarious. CBSSports.com. The franchise set to join the league in 2026 will unveil the new name and logo on Tuesday. The official rollout of the name can be linked to TooManyBalls.com, a placeholder for an extensive marketing campaign around Boston to promote the new club and colors, which will be green and black.
Perfect. Yeah, I was gonna suggest the Boston tea bags, but whatever.
the marketing campaign straight out of Nick Suberling playbook. I'll tell you what. There was a point, actually, we're making a joke, where we snatched up there was like this weird thing with MLS. It'd be like MLS, the number 2, Vegas.com or Charlotte.com or Cincy.com. Yeah. And we snatched up every freaking one on GoDaddy. We sat on them for like 5 years. I forgot about it. And I got a call from Liz Summers at FCC yelling at me, "You better get me MLS to Cincy.com right now." I'm like, whoa. I'm like, I have no idea. Oh,
for
I remember
a price.
we did that.
For a price.
I actually was a good fella. I cooperated. The MLS people, I think that's probably the reason why we have such a good relationship with the MLS office is like, I was like, here, just have it. Like, I'm not sure. I'd rather own it than some jabroni out there. And and like they gave a nice swag bag and have a good relationship. But long story there.
That happened with the Washington Commanders, right? The guy just bought up like every single name possible, and now they're just screwed.
That's awesome. I love it.
I don't have any final thoughts. I gotta be honest with you. I just
can't beat that. Can't beat that.
You can't. No, I just kind of go back. I've probably said this the last 3 times I've been on. I mean, we're third.
Lexington SC is in the town of. Sorry.
We're at third place. Again, I don't think. I mean, I don't think we should, throw flowers in the streets for that. But I mean, it's just incredible to me that FC Cincinnati has rode this wave. I mean, from going back to January with all that turnover on this roster to where we are now with all those injuries. I mean, I still, it's one of those playoffs where, you're going in looking to upset teams, right? You're going to be, one of those teams that's kind of wrecking ball instead of one of the perennial favorites. But man, like I can't wait to see how the season ends for this club, because I've just been so impressed. Despite the recent results of how this club has been able to take a Supporter Shield winning team and just completely redo everything and still ride it live, right? It's a long season. There's a lot of, dollars moving around, but for us to, the fan base being there, and for the front office and the coaching staff and the team to rally around it, I think it's great for FC Cincinnati. It's great for Cincinnati fans in general.
There's no pressure on FCC right now, and that's dangerous.
There's really not.
For Lucho. Real quick, one more final thought. My High Point University Panthers men's soccer team, 14th in the country, knock off the number 1 Pitt Panthers this evening. Let's freaking go High Point Panthers, the real Panthers in NCAA men's soccer. For Bill, Justin, Jason, and that guy who's off in the Orient, Boston Razzle Dazzle Brazzle. This is Brian Weigel signing off, and we'll talk to you guys again next week. Thank you.